A single Star Trek Voyager scene accidentally started an entire 7 of 9 storyline. One of 7 of 9's, Jerry Ryan, best relationships on Star Trek Voyager would never have happened if it weren't for a Season 5 episode. Despite joining Voyager's cast of characters halfway through the series run, 7 of 9 quickly rose to become extremely popular. Thanks to Ryan's acting skills and the character's complicated emotional journey from Borg drone back to humanity, 7 established herself as one of Voyager's most recognizable characters, and went on to become hugely important to the Star Trek timeline as a whole after Voyager ended. As she started to regain her humanity, one of the most enjoyable aspects of 7's character was watching her navigate her relationships with the rest of the crew. 7's mentorship with Captain Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, and the Doctor, Robert Picardo, or her rivalry-turned grudging respect for B'Elanna Torres, Roxanne Dawson, added a lot to her story. However, 7's best and most genuine friendship on Voyager was with one very unlikely character, and might never have happened if it hadn't been for a seemingly insignificant scene in Season 5. 7 of 9 and Naomi Wildman's Star Trek Voyager friendship wasn't originally planned. Seasons 5 to 7 of Star Trek Voyager saw 7 develop a friendship with Naomi Wildman, Scarlett Pomers, the young daughter of Ensign Samantha Wildman, Nancy Hauer, and the first child born on the USS Voyager during its time in the Delta Quadrant. Given their age difference, 7 and Naomi were an unlikely pair, but Voyager's creative team did a great job making their friendship progression believable. This started in the Season 5 episode Once Upon a Time, with a very brief scene between the two in the mess hall where Naomi expressed her fear of 7's past as a Borg. The scene wasn't particularly relevant to the episode's larger story, but executive producer Brannon Braga later told Cinefantastic that it was so charming that we would end up exploring that relationship for episodes to come. Braga's quote indicates that 7 and Naomi's friendship likely never would have happened if the creative team hadn't taken a chance on them. Luckily, the scene showed off Pomers and Ryan's chemistry beautifully with barely any dialogue. Naomi's childish fear of 7 assimilating her was hilarious and heartwarming, and the scene set the seeds of 7 and Naomi's friendship and foreshadowed their eventual dynamic. Why 7 and Naomi's friendship on Star Trek Voyager was so great. While 7 may have had more complex relationships with Voyager's adult characters, her friendship with Naomi stands out as one of the best aspects of them both. Thanks to 7's time as a Borg, her emotional maturity and understanding of humanity were more on par with Naomi's than any other character. As a result, 7 and Naomi developed an almost sisterly bond, with Naomi's more outgoing and sweet personality complementing 7's outwardly cold exterior perfectly. 7 and Naomi truly made each other better every time they shared the screen. Additionally, although 7 certainly learned a lot from people like Janeway and the Doctor, she benefited from having a younger character as a teacher. 7's friendship with Naomi paved the way for her to feel comfortable taking care of the Borg children Voyager's crew rescued in Season 6, which became one of 7's most important storylines later in the show. 7 and Naomi were good for each other as characters, and their dynamic was endlessly delightful, providing some much-needed comic relief to a few of Star Trek Voyager's more serious episodes. In the expansive Star Trek universe, few characters have undergone as profound a transformation as 7 of 9, the former Borg drone who became a key figure in Star Trek Voyager. While her journey from assimilation to individuality forms one of the most compelling story arcs of the series, it may surprise fans to learn that one significant aspect of her development was sparked by a scene that initially seemed trivial. This seemingly innocuous moment unintentionally set the stage for an entire storyline that would shape not only 7 of 9's character, but also the themes of identity and humanity in the series. When 7 of 9, played by Jerry Ryan, first appeared in the 4th season of Voyager, she immediately brought a new dynamic to the show. As a former member of the Borg Collective, she represented an ongoing internal conflict between her Borg past and her human future. Stripped of her implants and no longer part of the Collective's hive mind, 7's struggle to reclaim her humanity became a rich narrative well for the writers to explore. However, not every part of her story was meticulously planned from the beginning. One pivotal storyline emerged almost by accident during the early stages of 7's integration into the crew. In the episode The Raven, Season 4, Episode 6, Seven begins experiencing vivid hallucinations of her assimilation and memories of a raven-like bird. This psychological breakdown leads to a sequence in which she escapes Voyager and flees to a planet where she believes her origins as a Borg began. The episode was originally meant to flesh out Seven's past, showing her attempts to reconcile with the trauma of her assimilation as a child. However, one seemingly small scene in this episode ended up launching a much larger storyline that the writers hadn't initially planned for. In The Raven, while aboard a shuttlecraft with Tuvok, Seven becomes overwhelmed by visions and begins to break down emotionally. Tuvok, being a Vulcan, suggests a mind meld as a way to help calm her mind and guide her through the trauma. The mind meld is intended to be a quick solution to help Seven regain control of herself, but the writers and the actors involved were struck by the emotional depth that emerged from this scene. The mind meld wasn't just a Vulcan procedure, it became a profound connection between Seven and Tuvok, revealing deeper layers of both characters in ways that hadn't been fully explored before. The scene struck a chord with the Voyager writers, particularly the way it allowed for an exploration of Seven's latent emotional depth. Through this connection with Tuvok, the show found a way to explore not only Seven's ongoing internal battle with her Borg identity, but also her attempts to connect with the crew on a personal level. Tuvok, being a Vulcan, represented the logical, disciplined side of the mind, while Seven's fractured psyche was a canvas of raw, unprocessed emotion and trauma. The mind meld scene, with its unexpected intensity, highlighted how deeply these two sides could interact. The response from both the production team and fans was so significant that the writers decided to expand on this concept. Thus, a new storyline emerged around Seven's emotional growth, particularly her evolving relationships with the crew members, starting with Tuvok. The mind meld had opened a window into Seven's soul, and from that point on, her character's journey took on new dimensions, exploring not only her identity as a former Borg, but also her emotional development as she navigated life aboard Voyager. This small, seemingly insignificant moment between her and Tuvok had sparked a much broader investigation into her personal evolution. This scene also paved the way for deeper exploration of Seven's trauma and her need for emotional healing. The writers began to craft more episodes around her struggle with feelings of isolation, frustration, and her yearning to belong. Episodes such as Infinite Regress, Season 5, Episode 7, further explored the psychological impact of her Borg past, with Seven manifesting multiple personalities as a result of a Borg implant malfunction. This, in turn, led to more episodes delving into her journey toward reclaiming her individuality. The storyline even grew beyond the confines of Voyager, influencing later developments in the Star Trek universe. Seven's character arc would later carry into Star Trek Picard, where her struggle to balance her Borg past and her human future continued to be a central theme. Her relationships with other characters, especially her ongoing emotional conflicts, remained rooted in the storyline that began all those years earlier in Voyager, sparked by a single mind meld scene. What's fascinating about this accidental storyline is that it highlights the organic nature of storytelling in long-running series like Star Trek Voyager. Writers often discover character depth and narrative potential in unexpected places, and a small,